Medina and Michael Jimenez are the Fantasy Guys. Brought to you by RDK Advisors.
San Antonio, what is going on? Welcome one, welcome all. The church is live. The church is now. We are in session, baby. It is the last week of play before playoffs for fantasy football. We are getting ready. We are stoked. We are excited. I'm Brandon Big Papi Medina. That is Michael Jimenez. We are the Fantasy Guys coming with you every Sunday at 11 a.m. Michael, it's here, baby. Playoffs are right around the corner now.
Oh, I'm so excited, baby. Week 13. We are here, gathered here to celebrate this thing called life, gathered here to celebrate this thing called fantasy football. As you said, week 13, the week for most of us before the playoffs start. For many of us, make or break. We have to either win and get in, or we're out for a lot of us. So this is a big week, probably the biggest fantasy football week of the year.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at it, we have two huge bye weeks that are going to really affect fantasy football in general. I mean, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that has fantasy relevance all over it, and you also have the Carolina Panthers. So anybody that was, hoping for a Mike Davis or Christian McCaffrey or a DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson, I mean, it is going to be an absolute murderer's row out there today in fantasy football, and that does include our listener league. I mean, it is crazy tight in our listener league.
Oh, our listener league. I don't think anyone has clinched a playoff berth. I think maybe one team has.
One.
It's amazing. We're taking a look at it. In the other leagues that I'm in also as well, it's very tight. We haven't had many teams that kind of just broke out because there have been so many injuries, so many illnesses. And speaking of injuries and illnesses, let's talk about who is out today. And there's a lot of names who are going to be out this week 13. Daniel Jones, quarterback of the Giants, is out. He's being replaced by Colt McCoy, who I didn't even know was in the league still.
Blast from the past.
Colt McCoy, blast from the past, former UT Longhorn. He is in for the Giants. Might actually be a good game for him. Playing against a terrible defense this week. We have some COVID out. Devontae Freeman out because of COVID-19 protocol. Same thing for Larry Fitzgerald of the Cardinals. Josh Jacobs is out. DeAndre Swift again. Kenny Golladay again. Julian Edelman and Jonnu Smith. But, Brandon, there's also some big names that are coming back onto the field.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, when you're talking about the injury report, obviously there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be affected by this. DeAndre Swift was a name that people have learned to rely on when he came back. And then after he had his big, huge breakout game, it seems as if the trending downward has just spiraled into multiple weeks. You have, Kenny Golladay, who many took in the second round, third round of the year, who hasn't really been able to give you much, Michael. And I think, when you look at that, it's going to be a tough week for many. It is absolutely this year more than ever. We've said it before. I did my show with Quinn last week because Michael was having himself a party down there in New Orleans. But, when we're talking, it's one of those things where this year more than ever, if you were not a waiver wire king or queen, you really are not making a run in the playoffs. I mean, waiver wires were running 24/7. I mean, it was a tough year. And if you were not focused in on the waiver wire, the odds of you making a deep run were very much likely nowhere to be found.
Brandon, I was going to reach out to you earlier this week and ask you, how about this for a topic, which was fantasy busts. But I thought about it. It's actually easier to make a list of the names of players who actually did perform the way that they should have.
Yeah.
The first four, because when you play fantasy football, the first 3 rounds are your studs. They're supposed to be no-brainers. They're going to be in. They're going to produce. But this year has been both the best fantasy football season ever and the worst, okay? It is the worst because, like you said, so many injuries, all these illnesses. Is Lamar Jackson going to play this week? You have all of this uncertainty going on. That has made it the worst fantasy football season. But what has made it the best is 2 things. Because we've had to be more proactive, the cream of the crop, the best owners of fantasy football have done the best because they've done the waiver wire. And then also the simple fact that we even had a season to begin with, because 13 weeks ago, we were kind of concerned that this fantasy football season might not actually happen. But it did. It's been some shuffling. Some buys had to be moved around. Some games had to go from Thursday to Sunday, from Sunday to Tuesday. But we really haven't missed a beat. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the whole question and theory behind everything was if you don't do a bubble, we're not going to be able to have football. And I feel like the NFL's done a great job at really not canceling games, but playing with what you got. I mean, you looked at Baltimore's game versus the Steelers. You look at, like you said, there's been some early bye weeks with the Titans Steelers stuff, but there's no really cancellation of games. We've seen COVID be more rampant more than ever now, not only in everyday life, but in the NFL, as we've seen, it's becoming more and more prevalent. But with everything going on, the NFL still is able to have a pretty good clean slate of games and stuff, and that's led us to have a pretty good, consistent year of fantasy football. The only inconsistency are the normally consistent players that we were drafting. So I
Yeah.
think. I think definitely you're absolutely right when it comes to the list being made of who actually performed to their draft stock versus who did not. The list is a lot shorter on who actually performed to their draft stock.
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I had somebody reach out to me earlier this week asking me if they should start Ezekiel Elliott. And I was thinking to myself, wow, Zeke went off the board 2, 3, or 4 in most
Yep.
leagues. And they're asking, should I even, I mean, a play-in game, an important game that they need to get into the playoffs. And they're asking the player that they drafted, number 2, Ezekiel Elliott, should they play him? That's ridiculous. Hey, we have some game time decisions. One that came up this morning that I was a little bit concerned about. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a stomach illness of some sort and has been downgraded to questionable.
Yeah.
So that means he could play, but the fact of the matter is that's a 7:20 start today. So you don't want to take that L if he decides that he's not up for it. So we've got to think about that. Also, Philip Lindsay. Lamar Jackson should be coming off COVID protocol. He's expected to come off, but technically that is a game time decision. And also for the Steelers, James Conner, also on the COVID protocol. He is trying to get off the list as well so that he can play against the Cowboys on Tuesday.
Okay, and I know we have a list also of who is playing. If you want to go through that through too.
Oh yeah, Adam Thielen is coming off the protocol as well. Julio Jones, Todd Gurley, Allen Robinson, the Bears' Darnell Mooney, Myles Gaskin activated off the IR, Mark Ingram, Carlos Hyde, and Kalen Ballage. But I understand that Myles Gaskin one intrigued you.
Yes. Yeah, Myles Gaskin. Listen, when it comes to those week 10 to week 13 fantasy football decisions, you're going to see some interesting names, or you probably already have. Obviously, we're already here, but you probably saw some interesting names hit the waiver wire due to tight knit groups, the tight knit roster movements of people wondering if the potential's there versus the value, if value's more than potential. And Myles Gaskin ended up making his way to our free agency wire in our listener league. I went over there, scooped him right up. So now I have a pretty solid lineup. The only thing is, Michael, me and you have the same record in the listener league. We're both 7-5. It's been a tough league. There's 3 people that are one's 9-4, and then you have like 8-game win streak, like a 7-game win streak. Just people just dominating in my division. You're number 1 in your division. In my division, there's only one team that is not above 500. So everybody is just killing it. So it's going to be a tough Week 13 matchup, not only for the fantasy guys, but for all of you listening. And this is where you have to be prepared to pick up and drop people that you need for the playoffs. If you have a position that there's no room to rely on potential anymore. There's no room to rely on what ifs. You need for sure things for the playoffs.
Yeah, there's no more trades. Trade deadlines are over. And the fact of the matter is that you either have your team or, if your league allows you, the ability to pick up somebody off the waiver wire. And so right now, you got to make the best of what you've got in front of you. Really what I've done in my leagues, I have one league that I'm doing exceptionally well at. I think I'm 10-2 in one of my leagues. It's the one I've been in for 20 years. That one, I've been focusing so much on Week 14 for the playoffs because I'm looking at like who are the defenses. Jacksonville obviously is tanking. I mean, they have Gardner Minshew out of the game. They obviously want to tank so that they can get the number 2 draft pick. So who are they playing on Week 14? The same thing for the Giants as well because now they have Colt McCoy. So I'm looking at it a little bit different. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, my players are big, but right now those defensive points are really, really important. those points that do for kicking are really, really important. I mean, I have Justin Tucker as my kicker in basically every league, and now I'm kind of questioning that. He is, in my eyes, the best kicker in the league, but the fact of the matter is that I don't trust that offense right now, and should I be looking at something else? But on those defenses, that's why I'm picking up Arizona Cardinals defense. That's why, even though they're awful, I'm picking up Seattle's defense, because they're playing really bad teams week 14 and 15, and I might be able to scoop up that extra 4 to 6 points from sacks or interceptions that wouldn't normally be there.
Absolutely, and that's why I think it's smart to pick up. Like right now, I know I have the Dolphins in quite a bit of leagues, and they had some good points last week. They had like 13 points last week as a defense, and I think this week still another good play. They're playing over there in Cincinnati, and then you look at the Giants. Whoever's facing the Giants needs to be picked up on defense. I think there's a lot of great options when it comes to picking up defenses and kickers because they're so widely available. However, do not sleep on kickers. Like, this is the time where kickers make or break teams. I mean, there's kickers that can go off for 17 points if it's a couple huge field goals with a couple extra points, whatever the case. I mean, there's kickers that will put up 9 to 12 points a game, and you need those in the playoffs because it's going to get tight down the stretch. We don't know who else is going to get injured. We don't know anything about COVID coming forth after this. So it's going to be absolutely a tough time if you're not prepared. So that's a great point. And with that, I think we need to get into a little bit of blessed he who starts.
Blessed is he who starts.
Now, Michael, who needs to be started in your fantasy football lineups this week?
Well, okay, first of all, you knew when the season started, during the preseason, I was telling you all about Austin Eckler. I was huge about Austin Eckler. I even said that I would take him with a top 5 pick. What happened? Had a couple of good games. Boom, got hurt and has been out. And we've had this poo-poo platter of, running back by committee over there. Now he's back. And last week they put him back into the lineup. What did he do? 14 carries for 44 yards. Doesn't sound like much, but
crazy.
11 receptions.
Yeah, crazy.
11 receptions for 85 yards, a combined 129 yards. That was a huge game. Even if you don't get in the end zone, if you have that many receptions in a PPR league, Austin Eckler has suddenly become what we thought he was going to be. He needs to be back in the lineup. And that brings up other questions that we have. You mentioned Myles Gaskin. What happens if a Galladay comes back into the lineup next week? What happens if a Christian McCaffrey comes back into the lineup next week? These are really weird and awkward questions, but the fact of the matter is that when Eckler did come back, he did produce.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you look at it, Austin Eckler's a wide receiver 1 at this point right now. So, he's playing outside of his comfort zone a little bit, but he's definitely doing everything he can to help that offense. And that offense is not looking to stop. Justin Herbert looks incredible still. So, obviously, one of the bright spots of fantasy football is finding these hidden gems like a Justin Herbert. So, for me, I want to talk about another person for Blessed He who starts that has become an absolute superstar seemingly overnight with some huge games. And you see me rocking the Viking stuff, double chained up, ready for a beautiful Sunday. Justin Jefferson is a must start in every league. Justin Jefferson absolutely is going to be getting his. He's been tearing it up. He's become a solidified wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 1 when Adam Thielen is not there. I think Justin Jefferson has a huge game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And also Kirk Cousins, feel free to throw him. I think he's a great streamer this week as well. I know I have him in a league or two. So that's one. The one that I do think is going to be the most nerve-wracking, going back to some people who are going to be out, is Ryan Fitzpatrick is not starting today. So Tua is back in the lineups, and Ryan Fitzpatrick was a league saver last year and then also last week. So if you were focused on starting Ryan Fitzpatrick, definitely pivot from there. But when it comes to Blessed, he who starts, Justin Jefferson would be my first one, and then Darren Waller would be my second one. I think that's another solid one.
Oh, I got another one for you here. Devontae Booker.
Yeah.
Devontae Booker was probably a waiver wire pickup 3 weeks ago, was still available in a majority of the leagues this week, but man, he is filling in for Josh Jacobs. Now, Devontae Booker has not had much play this year, but he did start a game earlier last month, right? 3 weeks ago, started a game, and he had 16 carries for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. So obviously he has potential. He's in place of Josh Jacobs, who has had a good year as well. So the fact of the matter is that if you have him, he's a fantastic flex play. Take a look in some of the smaller leagues that might be 8 to 10 team leagues. He might be available on the waiver wire right now.
Yeah, he's an absolute must start. They're going to get him a lot of touches, and I think if he plays that Josh Jacobs role, you're getting the RB2 in a very, very late time in the year. So with that, we're going to take a little quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk more about who you need to bench, as well as some betting tips to get you some money today. We've been pretty good with our betting advice, as well as daily fantasy and everything else. So keep it locked to the Fantasy Gods. We will be live with you up until kickoff every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 12. This is ESPN San Antonio 94.5 FM, 1250 a.m. and on the go at ESPNSA.com.
The Fantasy Gods is sponsored by RDK Advisors, the destination for financial advisors who want to build their own contract. Get direct appointments with top insurance companies for life insurance, disability, and annuities. Be independent, but don't do it alone. Call RDK Advisors at 210-508-0369 or visit rdkadvisors.com.
Do you ever wonder how long you could make it financially if your paycheck were to stop due to an accident or illness? Visit callclark.com, as you don't have to wonder. The loss of your income could be devastating to you and your family. You could lose your home, automobiles, and other essentials. Don't let this happen to you and your family. You can insure your paycheck for less than 2% of your income. Do yourself a favor and contact Clark Ross with Coordinated Financial Group and learn more. Go to callclark.com to learn how to protect your paycheck today. Once again, callclark.com. San Antonio has 2 Hopdoddy locations. Hi, I'm Steve Foster, one at the Rim and the new location at the Vineyard, 1301 North Loop 1604 West, and the initial San Antonio location at 17623 La Cantera Parkway, Suite 101 at the Rim. Different and delicious burgers with fresh and all-natural ingredients. Hopdoddy also has handcrafted milkshakes and hand-cut Kennebuck fries. So get to a Hopdoddy in San Antonio. When burger is life, life is awesome.
A father's absence does have a serious effect on a child. Fatherless children are twice as likely to drop out of school. They consistently score lower than average in reading and math, and they are 11 times more likely to exhibit violent behavior. Dads, your relationship with your children is important. I'm Jeffrey Leving, President Emeritus of the Fatherhood Educational Institute. Fathers do have an irreplaceable role in a child's life. If you'd like help finding out more about your rights as a father, phone 312-795-9060. That's 312-795-9060. We'll send you a free Fatherhood Educational Institute brochure. For more information from our website, visit www.fatherhood-edu.org. That's fatherhood-edu.org. Fathers are parents too. Don't miss another precious moment with your child.
Breakfast with the Blitz. Every Friday morning at 7:30. Join the Blitz as they talk to Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy.
Well, hey, I got a news flash. The tacos just showed up. Oh,
Yes,
my
sir.
God. I just can't thank you both enough. It was a huge hit.
Brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds. Breakfast with the Blitz. Every Friday morning at 7:30. 1250 ESPN San Antonio. 94.5 FM. And on the go at ESPNSA.com.
The barbacoa is hot, the big red is cold, and it is Sunday. Football is here to stay. Welcome back, San Antonio. You are live with the Fantasy Gods. The church is open. The church is now. Welcome one, welcome all. We are talking fantasy football. Now let's talk a little bit about Thou Shalt Bench and also our listener questions. This is all about you guys. So if you have questions, go to Facebook Live, throw them in there. Hit us a DM on Twitter. I am at Big Poppy Brandon M. Michael is at 210 Fantasy God. Make sure to hit us up on Twitter. Follow us. Hit us up with your questions. If you don't have a Twitter, you're missing out. But feel free to give us a call on the Kielbasa Bacon phone lines at 210-656-ESPN. Once again, that is 210-656-3776. Now, Michael, I know you had 2 DMs of some questions before we get to Facebook Live. What were those questions, sir?
Okay, so one question that we had was Jared Goff or Lamar Jackson. Typically, this player would play. This owner would have Lamar Jackson as their QB. but they're kind of questioning it, saying, I need to have points. This game isn't until Tuesday if it gets played. And it's assuming that it will get played.
Yeah.
But knowing that, who would you go with, Lamar Jackson or Jared Goff?
I think both are very ugly options. I'm nervous about Lamar playing. We haven't seen a cancellation, but the way it looks, you're right, it's going to be played. So I would probably go Lamar Jackson just because Jared Goff might be the biggest hit or miss quarterback that you can possibly start. That looks shiny and exciting, but when he misses, he misses. Last game he had 3 points. That was his last fantasy football game. He had 3 points. Before that, 23. So it's a huge drop. Every game this season, he's had an equal amount of 16 points and under versus 16 points and over. It's a very hit or miss week. But if you're looking for must-have points, I would say Jared Goff be the guy to start just because we don't know what's going to happen with Baltimore. We don't want to rely on the fact that it might get played.
I probably would have picked I probably would have picked Jared Goff anyway. Okay, you hit the nail on the head by saying that he is either feast or famine when it comes to points. But I like players like that. You mentioned in the last segment Justin Jefferson. He is the wide receiver version of that. He either gets you 40 or 50 yards and really not much, or he gets you 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Jared Goff is potentially an elite quarterback. And Lamar Jackson has underplayed. Look, what the defenses are doing with Lamar Jackson is they're saying throw it outside the hash marks. They are defending the inside of the field, and that is why he's having a terrible year, is because they're daring him not to throw. They're daring him to throw to the outside, which is completely different. He's having a really weird year. Yeah, they're playing the Cowboys, but the Cowboys are defensively have gotten a little bit better over the past few weeks. I would go with Jared Goff. I think he's the better player, the better quarterback, and it may be boom or bust with him, but when he's boom, and he's big time. We have another DM that came in from Beverly. She says, you need to start 3 of the following. Okay. Two as running back and 1 as a flex.
Okay.
Zeke, Mostert, Hines, and Jamal Williams.
Whew. No bueno. Mostert and Hines stick out to me.
It is a PPR league, so that is true.
Okay. PPR league, I'd say Mostert and Hines. I would say the first 3. I'd say Zeke, Mostert, and Hines, just because Zeke's going to get more volume than I think a Jamal Williams would.
Yeah, I said the exact same thing. I did say the exact same thing, but you take a look at it, Jamal Williams has actually had better stats than Zeke over the last month,
Sneaky.
even though he's had two games where he's getting 15-plus carries, even though Aaron Jones is there. But he's had 2 games where he's only had like 4 to 6. And you don't know which game plan that you're going through. But I would still say Zeke, Mostert, and Hines. I'm a really big fan of Mostert fantasy-wise. He's that sneaky player who people don't think is elite. He probably isn't elite, but he's one step below it in fantasy perspective. I like him.
Yeah, and I am Hines is another guy. Big boomer bust potential. But when he booms, it's you're taking the risk, but also the reward is so great there. So let's go to Facebook Live a little bit. First off, we got Robert Silva asking Nyheim Hines or Benny Snell.
That's a really good question. I think part of this has to do with, is it a PPR league? If it's a PPR league, I'm going to say Hines. But if it's a regular standard league, I would go Snell. The fact of the matter is that James Conner is trying to come off the COVID list, but there's no guarantee that he will. There's more of a guarantee that, or more of a likelihood that Lamar Jackson's going to get off the COVID list. But from what I'm reading on Twitter right now, the reports are saying that James Conner probably will miss this game. And if he does miss this game, Benny Snell would be the starter. So if it's a standard league, Snell might get the yards. But if it's a PPR league, Hines with those receptions, he'll get you the 5 to 8 receptions. Hines is the better play in a PPR league.
Completely agree. Couldn't have said it better myself. We also have Self Tanksley asking, morning fellas, PPR flex, Drake or Gaskin, and Hurst or Hooper.
Ooh, wow.
Ooh, wow.
Let's keep that one up. And by the way, we need to have Self in our league next year.
Yes.
Because he is a listener, sends us questions every week.
Die hard.
Self, thank you for being a fan of our show. I like this question. Wow. I would still say, wow, that's a really good one.
I think the tight ends are. Let's start the tight ends easier. I think the tight ends are an easier decision.
Who do you
For
got?
me, I'm taking Hayden Hurst just
Yes,
because
I
of the
am too.
volume. Okay,
Okay.
volume. PPR though, I don't like Drake. You know this. I have him, and I don't like playing him because I get nervous at the fact that sometimes the volume is not there, and sometimes he can't do enough with the volume. So for me, it's Gaskin Hurst.
Okay. I like Drake more than Gaskin typically.
Okay.
But I would still say Gaskin for this game just simply because of who they're playing. Okay. It has nothing to do with who's the better player or not, just more of a matchup thing. Drake is going up against the Rams front seven. Excellent front seven. Larry Fitzgerald is probably not playing today as well. So it's a very, very tough matchup for him. Whereas you have Gaskin going up against the Bengals defense, who, and then offensively they're without Burrow. So, and Dolphins are favored by 10. So you would think the Dolphins would have a better offensive game today. So I would go with Gaskin.
Okay, sounds good. That's what I'm talking about. Self, like we said, you are invited, brother. That was an invitation for next year's fantasy league. You need to be in there.
Oh, he says first round of the playoffs is this week. It's
Yeah,
a playoff
I know.
game for him. Wow.
It's a playoff game for him. Yeah, that's right. So this game time now, Self. So here's the deal. Self, next week you let us know if you won your playoff game, and that's how you get into the fantasy. That's how you get into the fantasy God's Listener League. We have Raphael also asking about a QB question. He said Tannehill versus the Browns, Herbert versus the Bills. Ooh, okay. I like this one. This is solid.
This is a really solid one here. I'm going to go ahead and say Herbert against the Bills.
Me as well. I think the excitement of Justin Herbert and the weapons there are probably more exciting, especially with Austin Eckler back, than Tannehill does versus the Browns.
Exactly. Eckler's back. Keenan Allen is just playing out of his mind these days. Offensively, they're moving the ball. You would think that they'd have a better record than what they do right now. I mean, but the fact of the matter is losing record, but offensively, fantasy-wise, very, very good. My whole thing about Tannehill versus the Browns is that I think this game is probably going to be over by about 2:15 today because both teams have what I think are the best running backs in the league going at each other. I'm sorry. I know you're wearing Vikings gear. Okay.
Disrespectful, but it's okay.
Two of the three best running backs in the league. Okay. Dalvin Cook obviously is in the mix, but when you have Chubb going up against Henry, I see those two getting like 60 carries and it just being a fast game that is just basically run. So therefore, I would say that Herbert would be the play.
Just so we're clear, before we get to more listener questions, he did say Dalvin Cook is in the mix, and I just want to make sure that correct my buddy here, Michael, that Dalvin Cook is the best running back right now for fantasy football. So I don't know about in the mix when he is the mix. You know what I'm saying? So with that, we also have Ricky. Ricky talking, hey, guys, love the show. Start Tannehill or Phillip Rivers. Are you going down that P River? What are you doing?
Wow. I mean, I just gave every reason in the world not to start Tannehill, even though I like Tannehill as a player. But so just
double down, Mike. Double down.
Just for the consistency, I'm going to split the eights, and I'm going to go ahead and say Phillip Rivers.
I agree. I think Phillip Rivers is the play today as well. Delusional Tanner on YouTube said half PPR, Mike Williams or Perryman.
Man, I'm a big fan of Mike Williams. Mike Williams has been on my bench all year long because I have I'm already solidified at that wide receiver / flex position. But man, Mike Williams, he's just been a stud. You know what I'm going to do right now? Just for you, Delusional Tanner, I'm going to put Mike Williams in my listener league lineup right now.
Wow.
I've wanted to play him all year long. I'm going to do that right now.
Okay, yeah. I think Mike Williams has more consistency when it comes to getting targeted. However, Perryman has been looking really, really good lately. I think he's 2 touchdown dependent, though. So Mike Williams, for me, is the start in half PPR. And then we have Adrian saying, what's up, homies? Playing my godson, Gil Rodriguez, today, and I really want to show him who's boss. Juju or Cooks, PPR scoring.
Oh, my God. Okay.
What a tough question, man.
That is a really good question. Okay, so, Brandon Cooks, going up against this really tough Colts defense that got beaten up just recently, right? So it's a really good defense that got just shellacked, man. So you would think they might be even more fired up for this game. Texans with a lot of injuries, but man, Watson has been playing out of his mind the past 4 or 5 weeks. He has become what we had wanted him to be during the draft. I would still say it's Juju is the play.
You still say Juju's the play. You really think that?
Yeah.
Wow. I am this is probably the most shocked I've ever been in an answer of yours. Truly. Here's why. Will Fuller's suspended, brother. He's gone. He's suspended. Yeah. So not only is Will Fuller not going to be playing, Kenny Stills is pieced out. He's gone. He left. He's not even on the team. Brandon Cooks might get double-digit targets this week. This is the time to start cooking with Brandon Cooks. Adrian, listen, Adrian. Thank you for listening first and foremost, brother. Thank you for asking your question. But just trust me on this. I'm betting the house. I'm betting everything I can that Brandon Cooks outplays Juju. Well, Juju will get points, but Brandon Cooks will be targeted out the wazoo because what else are they going to do?
Okay, first of all, I think you've just proven my point, okay? And here's the reason why I say that. You're saying, okay, well, Will Fuller is not playing, right? He is the number one receiver for the Houston Texans, which means that he would draw the best DB against him, right? No Kenny Stills. So they're beaten up. So the logic you're using, which I understand it, which is you have a player injured, you have a player who's suspended, and therefore you have more targets. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be an easier game because they're going to have the better DB on him. They're going to be more focused on him, and it's not like the Texans have a good running game. Right? So therefore, they can actually isolate Brandon Cooks and say, defensively, this is the guy that we need to stop and focus on him. So that's why I'm saying it might be harder for him.
Right. Well, they're both going against really good defenses. I mean, yes. Washington has been very good against wide receivers, and then the Colts have been probably the best defense in football. So you're right. It is a pick your poison type of thing. Juju has been consistent just as much as Brandon Cooks has now been consistent. He's turned into one of the main guys on that offense for the Texans. So if you stayed put with Brandon Cooks, you're reaping the benefits. If you drafted Juju, you drafted him to play him like this week.
Well, I mean, Juju's had a touchdown 3 of the last 4 games.
But look at last game. Last game, what was it? 8 for 37. Without that touchdown, he didn't do much with the targets.
Well, right. And the week before against Jacksonville only had 4 for 19. But prior to that, had 9 receptions, 6, 7, 9. He gets his yards. Now, the one thing that you're not getting from Juju that you had in the past was that he was the number one receiver over there, right? When Antonio Brown left, he was the number one receiver. But now with Chase Claypool and things like that, it's a little bit more of a diversified offense. That being said, I have Brandon Cooks in one of my leagues. I am playing him in one of my leagues. But if given the opportunity to play him or Juju in this particular game, I would have played Juju. I will say, Adrian, to kind of end this, we can go to break. I think you're going to be good either way, truly. I think both of those are great picks. I truly believe, and I think Michael would agree, Brandon Cooks has the higher boom. Juju has the higher consistency floor. So I think that's what you're looking at. If you're looking for 30 points, I'm not sure either is going to give you that. If you're looking for 20, I think Brandon Cooks can get you there, but might not and fall short, whereas Juju will get you to 15 at least. Yeah. So I think that's where it stands. Now, let's get to this last little segment before we take a break. Obviously, I know this went long, but let's talk about a little bit about Thou Shall Bench.
Thou Shall Bench.
Okay, Mike, 2 players that need to be benched across leagues if you have better options. Who are they?
Okay, and I'm going to be a big homer about it. I'm wearing a New Orleans Saints shirt. But their defense is legit. It has been where it's like, oh, they've been a good defense. They've been a decent defense. And now I'm looking at their defense going, wow, they are top 5, and therefore they're playing an Atlanta team. Todd Gurley, Matt Ryan, sorry. If you have better options, I think they should be taken out because normally you would start a Matt Ryan or Gurley at a flex. I'm just saying, if you have a better option, consider it. They're going to get their points, but consider somebody else if you have someone who's just as good.
Yeah, I think for me also, who I would be kind of stringing along from is Brandon Ayuk. somebody like that on the 49ers. I think those are good wide receivers that you can usually plug and play. I think this week I'd skip on them just because Buffalo's been pretty good defensively. I don't know they're going to get the big boom potential that you normally get. So I think any wide receiver for the 49ers I usually skip on as well. Any last one that you want to talk about as well, Michael?
Any of the receivers from the Cowboys. I think it's going to be a really bad game for the Cowboys this week. 2 weeks ago, they looked like a team that we hadn't seen all year, and then last week, boom, again. So, yes, go ahead.
Here's a question for you, because I have it, and I'm sure other people do as well. Are you going to play Julio Jones now that he's active, even though he's coming off of that hamstring injury?
Dude, receivers and hamstrings are very, very, very hard for me to want to play with.
Well, we've seen him leave games because of it. We've seen him start games, leave games because of it. So, are you trusting Julio Jones to stay in this week, play the full game, have a fantasy relevant game, or would you rather start a Devontae Parker, a Justin Jefferson, something like that?
Well, I would start Justin Jefferson over him anyway. But
yeah.
But with Julio Jones, I guess the only saving grace that you have with all this is the fact that it is a rivalry game. And I was just in New Orleans the other day. I went to a store that there was a T-shirt that said "God loves everybody except for fans of the Falcons," and I was just like, "Wow!" I mean, that was a Saints T-shirt, and I was like, "Wow!" So there's something to be said. Think about it when the Cowboys play, one of their rivals, like the Washington Football Team or whatnot. It's a different dynamic when the Packers play the Bears. When the Dolphins play the Patriots. It's a different dynamic when it's a rivalry game. So that being said, and they're home. Fine. I'm okay with Julio Jones being out there, but I'm not expecting much.
Sounds good. Well, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, keep it locked. Everybody on Facebook Live, if you're listening to your radio or listening at home, wherever the case, keep it locked because we are talking daily fantasy plays as well as our best bets of the night, of the week, going into Monday and Tuesday. But keep it locked. We're winning you guys some money here on the Fantasy Gods. So this is 94.5 FM, 1250 AM. You are listening to ESPN San Antonio. Find us on the go at ESPNSA.com.
Cover 3 at Stone Oak in San Antonio is the place to be, whether you're looking to gather coworkers for lunch, dine with friends, or treat your sweetie to a fabulous dinner. This elegant restaurant offers ample seating with comfortable leather booths, tall cocktail tables, along with full-service dining at the bar, or you can enjoy a fun time out on the patio. So come to Cover 3 and experience dining, spirits, and sports.
Cover 3, 1806 North 1604 West, 210-479-9700.
This is for the men who never settle. The ones who chase their shot of whiskey with another shot of whiskey. The type of guys who can watch a 90-minute match but fall asleep in the first 10 of every chick flick. And the men who celebrate a Tuesday night like they have the next day off. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Do you love fall-off-the-bone flavor? Try a Twin Peaks signature smoked menu item, like the Carolina pulled pork sandwich or sweet and smoky ribs.
America's Diamond has created a half-hour television program called Buying Diamonds Intelligently. You can see where diamonds are mined, how they're cut and polished, how they're graded, certified, and laser inscribed, and how our beautiful diamond jewelry is made. You can see the show tonight on ABC KSAT 12 at 12:35 a.m. or right now on the internet at americasdiamond.com. America's Diamond is the largest diamond engagement ring store in America. We design and create our extraordinary jewelry right here in San Antonio. Quality for quality, we guarantee that the everyday America's Diamond price is lower than any jewelry store's very best sale price, or we'll refund the difference plus 25%. America's Diamond was voted San Antonio's best jewelry store by San Antonio Magazine, The Current Magazine, and for more than 25 years in a row, winner of the Express News Reader's Choice Award. America's Diamond is the official jeweler of the San Antonio Spurs and of the University of Texas at San Antonio Athletics. See America's Diamond first, 561-1000.
And now another edition of Obvious News from Geico.
Obvious News!
A study says that soft talkers do not make great radio personalities. We asked local librarian Steve Sage about this, and here's what he said.
Honestly, I don't buy it. I think I make very captivating radio.
Also in obvious news, Geico makes it easy to save money and easy to manage your policy with the Geico app. So switching is a really smart decision. How does Steve feel about this?
I love the Geico app. I use it all the time.
That's obvious news from Geico.
What's going on, San Antonio? Welcome back to the Fantasy Gods. We are talking daily fantasy picks, your best bets of the week. We are winning you guys some money, but before we do that, we have some more listener questions on Facebook Live. Feel free to ask any of your questions as we are only 20 minutes to kick off. We're on Facebook Live. We are on YouTube. We are on ESPN SA 94.5 FM, 1250 AM, and on Twitter. Go hit us up. I am at Big Poppy Brandon M. Michael is at 210 Fantasy God, or you can hit up at ESPN_SA. With that, we have some listener questions. Owen said, should I start Devontae Parker, CEH, or Juju?
Devontae Parker on that one, because CEH might not play, or if he does play, may not be 100% because of his stomach illness. Juju going up against a good defense, just process of elimination. I would say Parker.
I agree. Devontae Parker would be my start as well. However, Tua does make me nervous, but I do think he's still the best wide receiver, obviously, in that team. So Chris also asked, any updates on Allen Robinson? Pick one. Allen Robinson, Amari Cooper, or Claypool? Ooh.
Everyone's saying that Allen Robinson's going to play.
Yeah.
Right? And this is a great set of receivers here because they're all pretty similar, I guess you can say. Claypool has the highest potential. Amari Cooper seems to have a pretty good rapport with Dalton. Allen Robinson obviously is a better player. I would say, wow, that's a really good one. If Allen Robinson's playing, I would play Allen Robinson.
Okay. I think I actually agree with you on that one. I think Allen Robinson, the targets are massive for Allen Robinson. Right. So I think Allen Robinson, just because of targets alone, would be the better play. But Claypool will be a sneaky one too, because Juju and Deontay Johnson will be getting taken up in coverage, and they just have too many. The thing with the Steelers game is there's too many options. There's too many mouths to feed where one is bound to blow. We just don't know who.
Hey, real fast about the Steelers, since we're going to be talking about spreads.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and say that the Steelers go undefeated this year.
Okay.
Right? They're 16-0. They're 17-0. They go into the AFC Championship game, and they're playing up against a 16-1 or a 15-2 Kansas City Chiefs team. Is it possible? What would you think? Would a 17-0 Pittsburgh Steelers team be an underdog at home for the AFC title?
Yes. 100%. I mean, you're going against Super Bowl champs. You're going against Patrick Mahomes. You're going against an incredible team offensively versus another incredible team offensively. They both match each other well on paper, defense, offense, all the way around. That would be the best game of the year, and I hope that we get that. And I think that is the big question. It's the what ifs, right?
Smoke and mirrors, baby. Smoke and mirrors. They're playing the NFC East all week long, man. Why are the Browns, with their record right now of like 8-4 or whatever they are right now, why are they that record? Why are the Steelers with their record? It's because they're playing the NFC East, baby.
I have heard that question so many times over the past week of the what if of the Steelers versus the Chiefs, and it gets me excited, man. If we can get that going. Now that is a game I probably wouldn't even touch betting wise. I don't even know what I would do. I wouldn't even touch it. I just let it go. But when we're talking bets, let's go to daily fantasy a little bit, Michael. Who do you have daily fantasy that you like to play this week?
Daily fantasy is kind of interesting this week because we have a lot of injuries. So I have Devontae Booker at 5,500 in the lineup. I like him a lot. Robert Tonyan from Green Bay, boomer bust, but at 3,700 for a tight end, going up against a really shaky Eagles defense at 3,700, one of the lower level dollar ones. I think that's a great pickup as well. And then I have Aaron Rodgers at 6,800. He's like the fifth highest from the top.
Wow, you know what? Me and you are so close. So I had Aaron Rodgers. I do have Robert Tonyan as well. But I like Kirk Cousins at 6,400 as well. I think he's a solid play. Wayne Gallman is somebody I really like. He has been consistent as can be. The dude's just getting touches, is the lowest of keys, just a good fantasy football player. I have Eckler there, Justin Jefferson. I love Sterling Shepard coming back. I'm starting him in one league. I'm starting him in a league right now. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp have a huge open foot to play on today. Obviously, they're going to have a good game. And then Tyler Boyd and the Dolphins rounds out my daily fantasy picks right now.
I like Tyler Boyd a lot. Unfortunately, the quarterback situation over there is not very good, but he's a really good player. Hey, as for spreads, my favorite spread today is the Colts and Texans going under 50.5. That's a lot of points for those two teams.
Yeah.
I like the under because Colts defense, very legit. The Texans don't have much of a running game. The Texans don't have Will Fuller, no Kenny Stills. How are they going to score 51 points combined? I don't see that one. I also, even though I'm hesitant about this one, if I'm going to pick any upset, it would be the Cardinals to win at home. And I'm also looking Seahawks against McCoy. Okay, so you have Colt McCoy playing for the Giants, who really want to lose this game so they can get the number 1 pick, right? Going up against the Seahawks, who have the worst passing defense in the league, I still think the Seahawks are going to dominate that game.
Yeah, I agree.
10.5 point spread.
What's also crazy is the Raiders are favored by 7.5 against the Jets, and I feel like that might be on the low end with how bad the Jets have been. So I think the Raiders one is also a nice play. But I mean, you look at it, Saints and Falcons. The Saints are favored by 3. What are you doing there with your Saints? I know you normally the betting advice is you don't bet on your own team,
right.
But if you were to, Saints Falcons, what do you like in that matchup?
I like the Saints, and it used to be because of the offense, but I like them defensively. I think Taysom Hill last week was just given the most conservative game plan at all. They can't be doing that against a team that does have explosiveness like Atlanta does. So I would say the Saints. By the way, going back real fast to the Giants, I mentioned how close they are to having one of the top spots, right? They're in first place, right? So the difference between them being first place is pick 19 or potentially having a number 4 pick. That's just ridiculous between those two. But just wanted to go back to that. But as far as the Saints and Falcons, my favorite game of the week, obviously, I'm wearing the gear. I'm going for the Saints, not only because I'm cheering for them, but they are the better team. It is a rivalry game, though, and that means something.
Yeah, if you're looking to bet against the spreads and bet for underdogs, just so everybody knows, there are 8, count them up, 8 games with a spread of 7.5 or more. So they're supposed to be some beatdowns today across the league. If you like any underdogs, right now is the time to take them because those spreads are extremely spread out pretty wide, whereas those will become very thin once the game time starts.
Yeah, 4 games above 10 points, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at it, even my Minnesota Vikings, who are not the best team, but have been pretty good lately, they're still favored by 10 against Jacksonville. I mean, that's definitely a game that stands out to me as a favorite if you're looking to bet here and there. But I mean, you look at the Giants, like you said. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Denver's favored to lose by 13.5 points against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs would definitely cover that one most likely. But I know
they covered 20 points earlier this year.
Yeah, crazy. But we also have one more listener question before we go to our last segment. We have Susan asking, Kamara, Mostert, or Montgomery, pick 2.
Well, you can't go against Kamara, even though it's Kamara is the play there, and I would say Mostert.
Okay, so I think Kamara Mostert I absolutely do not want Montgomery in my lineup. So I think I like both of those. And then also she had said Debo or Parker. What do you think there? So she corrected herself and said, sorry, Debo or Parker. What do you think there? I think Parker.
Yeah, I would say Parker also, just simply because matchups more than anything else.
Sounds good. Well, when we come back, you are either in the playoff hunts, in your playoffs this week, or playoffs next week. But regardless, playoffs are here, and it is time to get downright serious. We're trying to make sure you win some leagues, win your games, and make sure you become champion. So with that, we're going to come back We're going to talk about who we're lining the candle for, those crazy picks that maybe if you need a plug and play, you can take a shot on. We're going to light a candle for some people, say a little prayer for, have a good time. This is the Fantasy Gods. Come join us for our last segment on ESPN San Antonio, 94.5 FM, 1250 AM, and on the go, as always, at ESPNSA.com.
The Fantasy Gods is sponsored by RDK Advisors. Are you a PNC agent wanting to make more income selling life and annuity products? Give RDK Advisors a call. We can help you close that business and get you direct appointments with top insurance and annuity carriers. Be independent, but don't do it alone. Call RDK Advisors at 210-508-0369 or visit rdkadvisors.com.
Texas Spine Care Center and Dr. Adam Brueggemann are committed to treating chronic back pain and helping patients understand and make informed decisions about orthopedic treatment. They focus on using the latest techniques, medicines, and practices to give their patients the best treatment options to manage and overcome pain. Texas Spine Care Center is committed to helping San Antonio find the best choices that will give you your life back. So call 210-941-1785 or go to texasspinecarecenter.com. 210-941-1785.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Jewelers all over town promise that they absolutely guarantee the lowest price and try very hard to get you to buy today. But when you say not now, they suddenly offer you a 25% discount. And when you start to leave, they offer another 25% discount. How can you believe jewelers who say they guarantee the lowest price and then systematically try to take an extra 50% from anyone they can talk into paying full price and hold their biggest sale of the year every couple of months? At America's Diamond, we design and manufacture our extraordinary diamond jewelry right here in San Antonio. Everyone gets our very lowest price every day of the year. We've never had a sale. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff are never on commission. We guarantee that quality for quality, our everyday America's Diamond manufacturer's price is lower than any jeweler's very best sale price, or we'll refund the difference plus 25%. See our television program tonight on ABC KSAT 12 at 12:35 a.m. or right now at americasdiamond.com.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app anytime, anywhere. Listen to more than 300 stations along with more than 3,000 podcasts from your home area or across the U.S., all free.
With the radio.com app.
Welcome back, San Antonio. We are just under 10 minutes before kickoff. You are live with the Fantasy Gods. Welcome one, welcome all. The church is open. Last segment, only a few minutes, Michael. We're aligning the candle for some people, saying a prayer for some people to be in your lineups to start, and maybe you can get that big boomer bust potential. So without further ado, let's say a little prayer, Michael.
It's time for the Fantasy Gods to say a little prayer.
Michael, what's a player or two that you are looking to say a little prayer for? And if you start, you might be able to get that big boomer bust potential.
Okay, one of them I'm actually starting. Kyle Rudolph.
Wow.
For the Minnesota Vikings.
Whoa.
I picked him up off the waiver wire. I kind of screwed myself because I was playing Taysom Hill as a tight end for a few weeks there. And when he got taken off so that he could only be counted as a quarterback and I could no longer get those junk fake points, I needed to go dumpster diving for a tight end. And there, lo and behold, was Kyle Rudolph, who last week, 7 catches, 68 yards. Please do it again. I'm going to pick up another name as well. Also, I noticed him on the waiver wire just right now in our listener league. Denzel Mims of the Jets. The rookie player has been solid since he's been named a starter a month ago. Last 3 weeks, 67 yards receiving, 71 and 62. He's getting receptions, he's getting yards, but he hasn't been in the end zone. Tell you what, if he starts getting in the end zone once or twice, he's a legit wide receiver 3 pickup player.
Yep, mine right now would be J.K. Dobbins. I think could be a sneaky play today. He's going to be one of the few players actually active for the Baltimore Ravens. Not today, but whenever they do play. And so I think J.K. Dobbins might be a sneaky play there. But one that I really, really like, Michael, that I think you might be surprised to hear because I feel like he has been as consistent as they come, and no respect on his name. Put some respect on my man's name. Corey Davis for Tennessee has been massively consistent. 10 points every single game or more. He only missed 3 games and then also was taken out of injury early in one game and had 0 points. But every game he's played, basically, besides one where he got injured, 10 points or more. Sneaky consistency.
I have him in daily fantasy today. That was one of my plays. Sneaky good. And you need to have, here's how you come together with a good team. 3 or 4 who just have unlimited ceiling, and you need 4
unlimited
players. Yeah, and then you need to have 4 players there who you know are just going to get you 10 to 12 points, man. Just put it down, 10 to 12 points. That's why my favorite fantasy player of all time in the 20 years that I've been playing fantasy football is Curtis Martin. I put him down for 16 points every week, baby. He was the same every week, and I loved him.
That's right. And I think one last one before we get out of here, Dallas Goedert might need to be in those lineups as tight end as well. He's been sneaky good the past 2 weeks as well. So lots of sneaky plays. But right now, Michael, hey, it's playoff time, baby. Either this week you're in playoffs or you're playing to get into playoffs next week. Any last-minute advice, Michael?
Last-minute advice is going to basically be this. You drafted your top players for a reason, right? You drafted your top players for a reason. And unless there's some ungodly matchup problem, you have to play them. I mean, the hardest question that we had today was Goff versus Jackson. They're both legit players. So that one right there, I don't think is that bad. But if you got Amari Cooper, you kind of need to start Amari Cooper sometimes. You know, if you got certain players, you got to start your best players, especially when it comes down to it, because you don't want to sit there and say, "Wow, I wish I would have started my stud when I started some guy I picked up off the waiver wire week 6."
Yeah. Listen from 2 guys who have been absolutely coming from behind all year long with 2020 for fantasy football. Don't overthink it, guys. The playoffs are now. Don't overthink it. Start your best players. With that, thank you for joining us. This was the Fantasy Gods on ESPN San Antonio. I'm Big Poppy, Brandon Medina. That is Michael Jimenez. And as always, Michael, what do we always leave the fans with?
May the fantasy gods be with you. Good luck, guys.